Hello. I believe you're all doing well and you had a great weekend. I'll be doing another weekly recap of what happened last week. So we had a few interesting events that took place and price delivered accordingly. Everything went well as we expected it to. So let's look into this and see what happened. We have the dollar index there. I stated that we are looking for the dollar index to trade all the way back below the sell side liquidity and this to trade into this imbalance, and it delivered nicely on Wednesday before reversing Thursday and Friday. It was a nice trade into this imbalance. So everything traded nicely. As you can see, we've been tracing this price action since this day here. We talked about this up move here, and then we followed it all the way down, and then we talked about it coming back in here, and then it did, and then we talked about it selling all the way to trade into this imbalance, and then this sell side liquidity, and then this gap here, and then it delivered. So if you have been following and looking at what we have been saying, I hope you are not surprised by this price action which took place here. The dollar index delivered nicely as we expected it to. I expected it to trade into this area before it went down, but it didn't. It just closed below the imbalance here, and then it sold aggressively. And then we had Euro USD. When price was still here, we talked about it trading into this imbalance here, this CV, which it filled out nicely. As you can see, price filled this CV nicely. This sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, it got filled nicely there. Price hit it, you can see the bodies of the candle are inside of it. It filled it nicely, bought and filled it nicely. Hit it on Wednesday and then Thursday from the high of the week, and then sold on Friday. A nice price reaction from EU. Nice price action. And then we had GU. We talked about it reacting from this gap here, and then there was this imbalance which I annotated. I remember, and we talked about it trading away from this imbalance into this highs here, and then this highs. Eventually we're still looking for those highs. Price traded into it, and then it reacted nicely, and it sold on Friday. Everything seems to be nicely arrayed in price action, and we'll still be looking in the coming week to see where it will go. I'll upload another weekly analysis after this review. And we had Nasdaq. We talked about it taking out the buy side liquidity. It took out the sell stops here, and it closed above this high here, and you can see price came down, tested this bullish breaker, and then it went up. I talked about price coming back, if you can look at it carefully, coming back into this candle here and then buying. So as you can see, price hit that target, and then it came back into it, and it's reacting nicely. The US 500, we talked about it because it closed above this gap here. I mentioned that I want to see it close this here, this gap here, and guess what? Price traded up, and then it ended up closing it exactly there when it closed it, and then it reversed nicely, and now it's still looking to find strength to go up, and we still have that buy side liquidity and that gap there. And then the USDCHF, as you can see, I talked about it trading into this range which I annotated. I mentioned on that analysis that I want to see it sell into this area which is blue in color here, into this shaded region here. And guess what? Price hit that low and it delivered nicely. It delivered exactly as we expected it. It didn't go much further up into this gap here. It just used the low of this range which I annotated. And then price went all the way down as we expected. That was a nice trade on the USD CHF. If you followed it, you could have got something off from it. And there was this EU trade which I mentioned. I talked about it and I said I want to see it go all the way down into this area here because there was an instruction given to the algo here and price came. You can see when it came into that area, the reaction there. So the instruction which was given to the algorithm here, something was done here again, specifically at this level. The algo was given an instruction to offload any command which was given here, and then it did the opposite of it, and that's why you see it deep down here and then take out the sell side liquidity. So that was a beautiful price run on EU. This was the Asian session trade here. After that lesson which I released, I explained that when you are working with this Asian session, what do you look for? Let's say you are bearish as it was happening here. What did price do? Price traded above this session 25. I told you that you have to look for 10, 20, 30 pips above it. Between that range, price will manipulate above the Asian range high when you are bearish, and then when you are bullish, it will manipulate below. So what rests above this high here, previous day's high, buy stops, and price forms this, and then it manipulates up, trading into that CV on the daily which I annotated. Price manipulates 25 pips above it, and then price comes all the way, closes below this Asian range high. This could have been your first entry here. If you missed that one, you could have entered there, and then price goes all the way down, hits that low, it doesn't close below it, and then it just stops there, and then it retraces. Why is it retracing? Retracing back to the Asian range high there, and then price expands nicely, comes back, and then it sells nicely, closes below it here. You can enter on a source stop there, and then price will sell. If you look on the 1 hour, if you look on the 1 hour time frame, you can see price took out this buy side liquidity here on this candle, and that was a beautiful bearish order block there. That was high, low, optimum trade entry there. That was a nice sell. So your target could have been, let's look at it carefully nicely here. Let me make it clear. So price was trading into that higher time frame PDRA. Price was trading into the higher time frame PDRA, the CV. So which can just, you can just annotate it at 1920 institutional figure. 1920 0920 and then 0920, the institutional figure, and you can annotate that buy side liquidity there. You have that buy side liquidity resting above that high there. So what rests above that high? Buy side liquidity, the buy stops. And if you take the range of this day here, I'm gonna insert another shape here. when you take this range for this day here, if you annotate it nicely there, is there any PDR which price left which can be retraded back to? Yes, we have this gap here which is overlaid by this order block here. We have that order block that can be a short-term target coming all the way from the upside there. We have that order block there, and here is the gap which I'm talking about. If you look at it carefully, this is the gap which I'm talking about there. That's the gap which I'm talking about there. That gap, price formed an imbalance there, and there was a lot of buying without selling, so price has to come and rebalance that region. So when you look to the upper side here, you can see the price takes out the buy side liquidity above this range high here. The buy side was taken above the range high there for this specific day here. And what rests below this day's low? What is it that we see below this day's low here? Sell side liquidity. So price took out the buy stops. Price took out the buy stops, and then let me annotate it for you. It went for the sell stops. It went for the sell stops. As you can see there, took out the buy stops above this day's high here, expanded to the downside, left a bearish order block there, left a very big bearish order block there. Price comes back, showing New York, retests it, and then it tanks all the way down. And then on Friday it just continues, and then it eventually takes out the sell side liquidity below this low here. Eventually takes it out. And if you look carefully, you can see that it traded it a little bit much deeper. It traded it deeper, 10, 20, 30 pips below it, and then it eventually went up to even 42 pips below it. So that was a nice sell trade on EU, and if you incorporated that Asian session, you could have even got a nice entry there at the Asian session high, and even here at the Asian session low. So that was a nice trade on EU. If you saw it and managed to execute on it, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I'll upload the new weekly analysis after I have confirmed something. I just want to see something in price action. That's when I will upload it. So this was the review, and I hope you learned a lot this week. Just make sure you make use of all that you are learning here and that we are teaching here. I hope you are taking notes and studying and testing, using your time to the maximum to learn this skill set. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. This is wonderful. This is great if you know what you are doing. So I will end here, and I will speak to you on the next weekly analysis. Thank you so much. I love you all. Have a great trading week.